There is a lot of history on jinns. They are believed to be angels or demons, not innately good nor bad. In Islamic beliefs, their appearance can be divided into three categories. Firstly, zoomorphic manifestations, meaning they shape into animals with subtle bodies such as cats and owls. Secondly, they are said to be anthropomorphic, suggesting that they take on human forms combined with animal body parts. And lastly, they appear in the form of mists or sandstorms. Many people, perhaps inaccurately, refers to them as fireless smoke. Here's 3 alleged stories of possible encounters with these entities. By Reddit user TSIM12345, I should start off by saying my brother is not only a military man, but he's your basic hetero never let them see you cry cliché of a military man. He's not afraid of anything, well, except for the entire country of Japan. This is his story. My brother joined the Marines when he was 18 and was stationed in Japan. He really enjoyed his time there for a while. The girls, specifically. He made friends with some of the Japanese guys his age who worked around the base. On nights where him and his soldier friends had the night off, the local Japanese guys would show them around, bring them to bars, introduce them to girls, etc. One night, after a little drinking and no luck with girls, the guy invited my brother home to play video games. My brother accepted the invite, and they played video games for a few hours. During this time, he tells my brother the main reason he wanted to get home early was because his little sister had been suffering from night terrors, causing her to wake up screaming, crying, and sometimes vomiting. He was worried about her and wanted to be home in case she had an episode. At this point in the story, I should explain how this guy's house was shaped. The house was built in the shape of a horseshoe, with a garden in the middle. His bedroom was at the very edge of one side of the U-shape, and his sister's all the way at the other end. So they are essentially across the garden from each other. If he looks out of his window, he can see into hers and vice versa. So anyways, they decide to call it a night, and the Japanese guy walks over to the window to look across the garden into his sister's window to check on her. He lifts the blind and peers out for a fraction of a second before jumping back screaming and looking at my brother like he just saw something horrible. My brother then goes to look, and he stops him. He tells him that he saw a dark cloud with red eyes hovering over his sister's sleeping body. My brother, naturally, does not believe him and decides to look for himself. He creeps quietly over to the window and lifts the blind, but this time, he finds himself eye to eye with what he describes as a dark black puff of smoke with a face. My brother and this other guy admit that they got under the guy's covers and stayed there until it was light outside, too afraid to lift the blankets and see that the smoky figure had come a little closer and was in the room with them, just on the other side of the thin sheets. I don't know what to believe, or if maybe they drank more than what they said they did that night and imagined it all, but I know my brother believes what he saw. He sticks to his story, and when he tells it, he looks like someone who saw something truly sinister. By Reddit user Limabands. I'm very late to the party, but someone pointed me to this thread, so I am sharing my story. It's been posted before on Reddit. This stuff happened in an apartment I lived in the Lakeview neighborhood of Chicago, Illinois. I moved into this apartment, a typical Chicago 4+1, in September 2003, and my husband, then boyfriend, moved in later. We had 2 cats, a light orange tabby and a mostly white calico, still have them too. I had a few experiences at this apartment, but what I'm sharing here is the first experience and most terrifying. I have had other paranormal experiences since moving out of this apartment, but none of them can hold a candle to this one. It took me 8 years to come to terms with this experience. I am a very logical person, and for the longest time I was at a loss about this. But there's one thing I know for sure, it absolutely happened. In late summer early fall 2004, I went to bed one night, but as usual could not fall asleep quickly. Our cats normally went to bed with me, but they didn't on this night, so I sat up in bed, hoping I would see them and could call them to me. It was dark, but not pitch dark, because the apartment's windows let in faint light. When I sat up, I focused my eyes on the hallway to see if I could spot the cats playing running around. But as soon as I focused my eyes on the hallway, I realized there was a very dark black, like velveteen tar, mass just past where the very brief hallway ended and the dining area started. It was around 7 feet high and had a rough head and shoulder torso shape, but the rest of it kind of faded off. I wasn't alarmed at first, if anything I leaned forward to try to get a better look because I absolutely couldn't believe my eyes. I was baffled. But when I leaned forward, The thing seemed to turn and look at me, and when it did, I saw two red eyes in the head. I did not see any other features, and I don't remember if the eyes were glowing or just plain red, but they were indeed red, and this is the biggest reason it took me so long to come to terms with this experience. Red eyes are supposed to be of horror movies and scary stories, not reality. When the thing looked at me, my confusion was quickly replaced by fear. And then it swooped through the bedroom doorway and towards me. I did the only damn thing I could think of and duck under the covers like a kid hiding from the boogeyman. I was scared shitless. I have been in some scary situations in my life, but that particular fear was primal and almost unearthly. After several moments I began to run out of air beneath the covers, so I decided to elbow my sleeping husband in the ribs hard enough to irritate him and make him wake up. It worked, and when he didn't react strangely I figured the thing was gone, and it was. I wasn't able to get up to use the restroom in the middle of the night for weeks after this. I also made it a point to not look at the doorway if I did happen to wake up in the night. I and later my husband saw the shadow again, but it never appeared remotely as threatening. By Reddit user Phasmophobia. When I was 8 or 9, I was home alone a lot. I was a loner, so I enjoyed just chilling on my own watching TV or playing video games. I often used to catch a glimpse of movement just out of view along a certain wall. However, when I looked straight on, nothing was there. I always thought I was looking at the screen for too long and left it at that. One evening I was in the room and seen movement again. This time when I looked over, I saw a figure. It looked like a shadow of an ape. As it made its way across the wall, it evolved to a man. Yes, it looked almost exactly like the evolutionarily progression of man. The thing is, the room I saw it in had no natural light. It was in the middle of the house and had no windows, so it couldn't have been outside movement. My mother was home, so I decided to mention it to her. As I did, she had a very concerned look and said, "I've also caught a glimpse of movement there too." I just thought nothing of it because whenever I looked, there was nothing there. That weekend, we went to a spiritual person who does cleansing. She said what I described was a jinn in a different form. She then recited a few things and told us to burn frankincense at home and also recite something. After that, no more shadows. I've never felt fear of it. It was almost playful, if that makes sense.